Welcome back to the Hustle Behind Real Conversations. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit different. We're going to be talking about something that most of us read about, hear about, or watch it every day. Talking about news, headlines, and the stories that shape our community. But we never really think about the person behind it. So our guest today is Kaitlyn Hart from East Idaho News. And we're super excited to talk about journalism with her and what it's like to be in her shoes, especially to be a journalist today in a world where everybody has their own opinion. Welcome, Kaitlyn.
Hello.
Thanks for
you.
being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
We're excited for you to be here.
I was just telling you guys earlier that I'm usually on your side, where I'm kind of like interviewing people instead of being interviewed. So it makes me a little nervous being on the other side. And I mean, a lot of the times I usually have to be like, oh no, it's okay. Like my questions are super easy. Don't be nervous. And last night I was like, I think I'm nervous. I was like, oh no.
What are they going to ask
What are they going to ask me? Oh no.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, to be completely honest and transparent, we're recording this again because I started this and I forgot to press stop. Probably because I was nervous that I have a journalist, somebody who does this all the time.
I don't have. It's usually not this fancy. It's usually me on like my phone, like just hitting record, asking somebody while I'm like sitting at my desk while a billion things are going on in the newsroom.
Oh, that's cool.
It's usually like a very chaotic 20 minutes.
Environment.
Yeah.
It comes across really good though.
Yeah,
I hope so. Thank you.
You're doing awesome. We
Appreciate
would
it.
never thought that.
It's weird. It's a weird environment, but it's fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. We always like to start talking about your beginnings. Who are you, where you're from, and how did you land as a journalist?
Yeah. So I'm from Idaho Falls, which is where East Idaho News is, obviously. And but we do cover like all of Eastern Idaho. And luckily I grew up here, and so I kind of know the area. I know the people here. I know the demographics, and I know what tends to go on here. And so finding story ideas has always been really easy for me because I kind of know where to look, which is really nice. But like if I were to move to a different area for news, I think I'd be pretty lost, which is I think what happens to a lot of people in the very beginning. But yeah, I went to Idaho State University, which is in Pocatello, which is like 45 minutes from here. And I had no idea what I wanted to do in college, like no idea. My parents were constantly like, what are you going to go into? What are you going to major in? And I was like, I have no idea. And they'd be like, it's okay, you have time. But they were just also kind of like,
Figure it out.
figure it out. And so I was like, I'm going to go into music because I did choir in school and like I had taken piano lessons and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I was a music major for like a semester. And I took a music theory class and I was like, I hate this. It is horrible. And I hate everything about it. And so my dad came down one day to school and he was like, let's just like walk around and like go into the different departments and just like meet people and see who you like. And so I walked into the communications building and ended up meeting, I just kind of walked to the front desk and was like, can I like meet people that work here? They were like, sure. And I met Zach Gershberg, who's the journalism professor down there. And he was awesome. He just kind of took me around the office and told me what he does. And I've always really liked writing. I've always had kind of a knack for writing. That was something in school I was always really excited to do, like English classes and stuff, creative writing and stuff like that. And so I talked with him for a little bit and he was like, I think you'd be a really good like match for this program. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So I literally, exactly, I went that day to the administration building, like right after I talked with him and signed up. And it was just like a match made in heaven because it was perfect. And so I started right away. And then after school, I was interning at Idaho National Laboratory and which was awesome. And I was on Facebook one day and saw a post from East Idaho News that they needed a crime and courts reporter. And that was something I never even contemplated doing. But I love true crime and I've always loved like crime documentaries and I have lots of like law enforcement in my family. And I was like, that would be so cool because it's like the other side of law enforcement almost. And I was like, that would be cool. Like, I'll stick my hat in the ring. And I remember I told Steven about it, my fiance, and he was like, you're going to write about crime? He was like, that is going to be so horrible. And I was like, no, it sounds so cool. What do you mean? I was like, what are you talking about? And so I interviewed, and I remember they told me, like, they offered it to me, and I was like, this is like never something I imagined myself doing. And it's been great. It's been great ever since. It's been so awesome.
So were you not like really thinking you were going to land it?
I didn't know because I don't know if my editors are going to love me saying this, but I actually interviewed for an internship there at East Idaho News the same time I interviewed for INL. And I went in and met with them, and I was so scared because I was like, oh, this is Nate Eaton. Like,
Yeah.
if you live in Idaho Falls, you're like, oh, that's like the news guy.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous, and they were like, okay, like they interviewed me, and then they were like, go home and send us some samples. I was like, okay. So I went home, and I got a call from INL on my way home, and they offered me a position, and obviously that's also a big place here. So I took that one, and I never emailed them back. And
Well, now they know.
now
Yeah.
they know. They
That's
knew
if they're
that
watching
before,
this. Yeah.
but I was like, I could have been started even earlier. And so I took a couple years before I got there, but it worked out in the end.
That's awesome.
Do you think the time and the experience at INL helped you to just be
Oh,
more
yeah.
confident? And, by the time you got to East Idaho News, that
Yeah,
shaped you a little bit?
I was actually writing there too. And so I was doing feature stories on like scientists and like the research work they're doing, which was really, really helpful because actually it's kind of what my fiance does now a little bit. And so on a much higher like level than I was doing as an intern. But I got to learn a lot about like how to translate like professional talk into like things that people can read and understand.
Yeah.
And so that was really helpful because I was just doing science, but then like now at East Idaho News, I write about everything. And so it's easier for me now to kind of transition into like, okay, I got to learn everything about this new topic and then figure out how to tell it to people in a way that they're going to like be able to comprehend and understand, because a lot of the time when like sciencey people start talking, it just goes like right over my head. And so
You're not the only one.
it took a long time to figure out how to be like, okay, I kind of know what you're saying. Let me tell somebody that as if they were like 3 years old.
Exactly.
It was super helpful going from INL to East Idaho News, but I've learned so much. I've been there almost 4 years in May.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I think it's been great. It's been so fun.
That is so good. That is so good. That's great to hear how things started. What is your day like? Because just like people wonder out there, they have assumptions of, like, let's say with us, with realtors, people make all sorts of assumptions of what it's our day like and what is our job really like. So tell us a little bit about what is a day like for a journalist or a reporter like you, so we can learn and understand a little bit.
Sure, yeah. I think something that people wouldn't expect is that we actually have a lot more freedom than people would think. So, and I say that because at East Idaho News, we have a lot of creative flexibility, I would say. And so in the morning, we have a newsroom meeting. It's exactly like you would see on like TV or something. Like we all literally pull our chairs in the middle and we sit in a circle. And our editors go through like our lists of stories that we've been pitching, and they say like, all right, what do you want to work on today? Like, what are we doing? And then they'll approve it or say that they would like you to work on something else. Or if there's like a breaking news story, that usually goes to me because I'm doing breaking news now. And so that'll be first on my priority list. And it's super collaborative too. I think that a lot of people kind of think that as a journalist, you're just kind of on your own, like out in the world. And that's, I mean, to a certain extent, if you want it to be that way, it can be, but I prefer working with my my coworkers and kind of helping each other with stories.
Is it competitive at all, or?
Not in the newsroom, I don't think.
Okay.
No, not with us at least. I mean, there's definitely moments where like a story will come up and we'll be like, I really want that story. Like, is that okay with you? And they're like, well, I really want that story.
Arm wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, we have done stuff like that in the past.
Flip a
And-
coin or something. Yeah, just find a
Exactly.
way to figure it out.
And then it's just kind of like, all right, well, who's better fit for it? Like, who has more on their plate and stuff like that. But, yeah, usually when I was doing crime reporting, at least, we would go to the courthouse every single day. Because people don't realize this, but public records are so easy to get a hold of. Like, you can go look up anything, not anything, but you can go look up anything about a crime that occurred like within the last 24 hours.
Really?
You can read the affidavit, which is basically a story written by a police officer about what happened. And there's a whole room in the courthouse for that with computers. And you just sit on it and you look up judges or names or anything. And you can just sit in there and see what's happened in the last 24 hours. And so we would do that every single day. And you just walk into the courthouse. You don't even have to like check in or anything. You just walk in there and you sit in the law library and you just start looking for stories. And so
crazy.
you can, I mean, they organize it by like crime. And so you'll see like criminal or civil. And usually we go for the criminal ones, and you'll click on it and it'll be like something as small as, I don't know, no crime is small, but it can be something from like, you know, like a really minor battery, like someone got slapped downtown, or like you'll see like, you know, first degree murder.
Yeah.
And it's every single day is different. But after that, yeah, we get our stories, we come back, and we start writing. And that's probably the biggest part of our day is the writing aspect of it. But that's my favorite part. So
To be completely different of my favorite part of the day.
Yeah, mine
Because
too.
I struggle with putting it together.
Right.
But that's so interesting. And the fact that you said that, you know, everybody has access to it. You can just go in and look things up.
Yeah.
It's very available to the public. Now people are going to line up outside of the courthouse. Just
well,
so
we
you
tell
can
people
vote.
this all the time because people are like when we write about a crime, you know, we have certain rules and ethics that we go by. You know, like we don't write about misdemeanors unless it's like a public official or or like, you know, somebody that was elected, like the mayor or like a commissioner or like a city council person. But if it's just, you know, like if you're not an elected official or somebody that you know, is prominent in the public eye, we're not going to write about your misdemeanor. We don't care that you got your fishing license taken away. But for like criminal things, like, you know, if there's a battery or if there's an assault or if, you know, you're trying to commit insurance fraud, like we're going to write about that because the public deserves to know about it. They deserve to know what's happening in their community. And people often every single day email or call and they say like, how'd you get that information? I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you because you have this information. But
It's all public.
it's public information. If you get arrested, if you get charged with something, that's public information. Anybody, not just me, anybody. We could go to the courthouse right now.
We're just sharing it,
Yeah, we're just
making it more
I
public.
call myself a what is it? Sometimes it's like a joke. We call ourselves like professional snitches.
Yeah.
Which isn't like the best term ever, but it does feel that way sometimes. Like, but it's just crazy because people don't realize like how accessible this information is, and especially in Idaho. Like, I've dealt with a couple different states trying to do stuff like this, and it is much harder in other states than it is in Idaho to get
Oh, really?
information. I think
It
so.
varies state to state then.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, public records are available everywhere, but the way in which you have to go about to get it is a little different.
Where
in
here
other
you don't
states.
have to sign up. Where in other places maybe you do have to apply for it or like
Yeah,
have
and
more.
like certain public records you have to request. So like if you're looking for instance, mugshots in Idaho are public records. So you can request a mugshot and they are required to give it to you in Idaho. In Utah, they don't give out mugshots until the person is convicted and sentenced.
Okay.
So that can get a little weird because we do have a county that I think it's Cache County that jails their inmates in Utah because it's closer. And so we
you can't get it.
Yeah, so like even though they were arrested in Idaho, but they're being held in Utah, we can't get their mugshot. And so
Oh, you
Dang
can't
it.
really say.
it's kind of that gets a little bit annoying, but yeah, people just I don't think they realize how easy information is to come by, but it's kind of nice being like an entity that gets to like do that for people because I think if we didn't, then you're right, there'd be like lines outside the courthouse all the time. I think.
That's so interesting. Was there a moment when you, as you started to do journalism and working in East Idaho News mainly, when you were like, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, or like, oh my gosh, this is heavy.
There's been a lot of them. Yeah. One that really comes to mind is I was writing a story about a lawsuit and one of the parties, I interviewed one of the parties, recorded phone interview, and the other side wanted that recording from me. And I worked with my amazing managing editor, Nate Sunderland, and because we're not supposed to be required to give out our sources, especially if the source does not want to be outed. And so there's a lot of back and forth with that. And eventually it got to the point where we said, if that source wants you to have our interview, then you can have it. But if they don't want you to have our interview, then we're not going to give it to you. And so they eventually gave it to me. We had them send me my interview, which is hilarious because I already had it, but it was it was just the way things had to go. And then they gave me permission to send it to them, right? So the people that wanted the interview had it. And then I got a subpoena in the mail. And they wanted me to show up to court and testify about my interview. Because they were alleging that they had been defamed by this guy in the interview I did with him. And you never want a reporter on the stand because that kind of takes away a lot of the freedom and the freedom of the press,
Yeah.
If a reporter is on the stand, it takes that away, and it kind of, a little bit kind of constricts what we can do and what we can say, because if we're scared of being put on the stand, we're not going to be as forthcoming and as out there and getting all of the information that we can, or even giving it out. And so my managing editor was like, absolutely not. None of my reporters are going on the stand. And so there was this kind of scary moment where I was like, am I going to have to go? And it was a federal case. It was in Pocatello. So it was really scary for a little bit because I'd never been on the stand. I cover cases, but I've never in them. And so, knock on wood. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. And my editor is the most incredible editor. And we have a lawyer that works with us. And he managed to make it so that he was on the stand instead of me.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, he went to Pocatello and testified. And they ended up playing my recording in court, which is super rare. Obviously, because that's my source. And if sources know that their recordings can be played in court, they're not going to come forward anymore.
Right.
Of course, yeah.
If it's something like defamation, but especially if it's something like a sexual assault victim or a victim of a violent act, or really anything, victims are going to be scared to come forward if they know that they can be outed in court. So my editor went through with it and he testified and everything was fine. The lawsuit didn't go through. But because of that, my editor is also a part of the Idaho Press Club. And he talked to the Idaho Press Club about it. And he was like, it was really messed up because one of my reporters was kind of jostled by all of these attorneys and all these legal proceedings. And her recording ended up being played in court, which was supposed to only be between her and her source. And it ended up being broadcast to the entire courtroom, both sides of everything.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And the Idaho Press Club was like, yeah, that's really wrong. And they found out that people in other places in Idaho, this was happening to them too. It's not super common, but these journalists were kind of being extorted by the law a little bit, where it was getting to a place where we were becoming fearful of doing interviews.
Right.
For legal
Doing
stuff.
your job.
Yeah. And so my editor and some awesome people from the Idaho Press Club went in front of the Idaho Supreme Court last year. And because Idaho did not at the time have a media shield law, which would keep journalists off the stand and keep our recordings from being played in court. And they went in front of the Idaho Supreme Court last year and they got an Idaho media shield law passed because of it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
So now we don't have to worry so much about, and sources don't have to worry so much about talking to us about things that, happen to them that they don't really want out there, or to certain people. And that was definitely a moment where I was like, oh, this is very real. I could have been on the stand in a federal, and I think I was 2 years in, maybe.
Wow.
At that point.
Hot and heavy for being just.
Yeah, everybody kind of makes a joke oh, Kaitlyn's gonna get subpoenaed again because I got subpoenaed at 2 years.
With a joke.
Yeah, it was pretty scary, but it was also so cool because like just to be a part of like a little teeny tiny part of something that ended up protecting so many journalists in Idaho was so cool. And all the credit goes to my editor and the Idaho Press Club, because they all testified to the Supreme Court and stuff. And it was incredible. It was so cool. It was an awesome moment.
That's quite a story. I mean, especially 2 years into it to go through all that. Have you had to go back to court since then or not?
No. Thankfully, because the Idaho media, the media shield law is there. There's not a lot of instances where journalists would have to testify anymore.
So you guys are mostly protected by that.
Yeah, so we're super protected by it, which is really awesome, because obviously, like, the sources worry about having their information outed, but like we worry about our sources too. And so now I think a lot of journalists around Idaho feel a lot more comfortable, and I do think that it has made other people come forward about stuff because they know
feel more safe.
Exactly. Like we can't give out we don't have to be, there's no way for us to be required to out a source in court in Idaho anymore. So to my knowledge, that's what I believe. So it's that was a pretty dramatic
Well, that's
couple
good
of
because
months.
it maintains that. I'm trying to think of the word. Well, obviously, I shouldn't say it makes your job easier, but it maintains the.
It helps them to trust us.
Yeah, to trust you, right?
and
To
feel more
make sure that
comfortable talking.
that you guys can be unbiased. And,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talking about being unbiased, how hard is it for you to interview somebody that you greatly disagree with?
That's a great question. Oh my gosh. I think it gets easier the longer you do it. So, let's see. Obviously, I think a lot of that comes around election season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Politics are heavy.
For a lot of people, I mean, for a lot of journalists, I think probably that's the most, that's a big part of the problem where you would interview somebody and disagree with them. But I also think it's just as important to realize as a journalist that, you know, like if you disagree with somebody, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that you have to try and like out them for like flaws and like nitpick them a little bit. Because essentially what you're doing is you're talking to somebody, like if you're talking to an elected official and say, I really disagree with this elected official, I also want to know the ins and outs of everything that they believe. And so does everybody else. So the more I can find out about this person and display to everybody, and the more I can find out about whoever is the best, rather if I disagree with them or not. Like the only thing that keeps people protected from bias is a journalist telling both sides.
Right.
And so if I can do that as best I can, then that's going to be the best outcome, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
No,
no,
it
that makes a lot of sense, especially I think in today's day and age where you have all this media outlets and sources that are either this way or this way.
Yeah.
It's hard to find something in the middle that is just delivering the news rather than giving you an opinion. And
Yeah.
so I
And
think
I think
that's, yeah.
we get called we get called like punching bags sometimes.
I'm sure.
Because like you know, especially like with East Idaho News, I feel like people are either really, really upset at us for being too liberal, or they're really, really upset at us for being too conservative, which tells me that we're like right in the right spot.
Right.
You can't make everybody happy,
You
right?
can't win.
So, yeah, it's
and
like,
so I think that means we're doing our job right, because if we're making both sides angry, then we're probably just being non-biased.
Right.
yeah, you got both sides complaining about
Yeah,
it.
neither
100%.
side likes to hear what they don't want to hear. So I think that means we're doing our job right.
Right. What about criticism? Like, how do you manage criticism?
That's a good question. In the beginning, it was really difficult because I would read the comments all the time on my stories. And we actually, our editors are fantastic. Like it's very much an environment of just do the best you can. And we feel so protected and supported by our coworkers and by our editors that I don't ever feel like, oh man, like, you know, Puppy Dog 726 is so mad at me because I did this thing. Like, oh, I really messed up. Like, I don't ever feel like that because
I love
I
the
know
sarcasm. I love the sarcasm. It's
I
so
know
good.
that people that comment that, like, the people that comment are either really, really, really upset or really, really, really happy. And so you never get the people that are just like,
In
oh, yeah, cool
between.
story, and moving
Yeah.
on. And that's the majority of people. And so in the beginning, I would read these comments and I would go home and be like, oh my gosh, everybody hates my writing. Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible. But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, if so many people are so upset about this and I know that I'm doing my job correctly, it can't be as bad as they're saying it is. And that's kind of the environment. And I mean, we even do, like, every year, we just published one a couple weeks ago. We do like mean comments videos where we like read our meanest comments to the camera.
I saw that. It was pretty funny. And you're all reading the mean comments. from-
Yeah, I mean, we do
You
like
have to have a little fun with it. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, there's such a good, like, we always talk about, like, journalists, like, we tend to attract some, like, really weird people, which sounds horrible, but we also are really weird people. And so a lot of the comments we get are just so outlandish, and they're so
Off the wall.
just off the wall. Like, I did a video, we do East Idaho Eats, where we go around and we, like, try different restaurants and stuff. And I did a video at a place that was serving sushi. And normally I would use chopsticks because I do know how to use chopsticks. But they just left a fork on there. So I was like, oh, I'll just use that. Like, whatever, it's not a big deal. And so many people were like, teach this girl how to use chopsticks. Why is she using a fork? Teach this girl how to use chopsticks. And so I read one of those in the video, and I went to Albertsons and I got sushi and chopsticks.
like, I know
and I
how to-
ate it on camera. I was like, I promise I know how to do this.
I have to prove you guys wrong.
Oh, but stuff like that, it's just, you have to let it roll off your back, and you do get a really thick skin after a while. I mean,
and a good sense of sarcasm.
oh my gosh, you should. I would love if you guys had Nate Eaton on this, because I would love to hear about all the stuff he gets, because he's very beloved, but some people just love to hate journalists.
Oh, it's so funny. And I've noticed something. And by the way, if he ever wants to come on, we would love to have
I'll
him.
mention it to him.
You mentioned
I'm sure he'd
him,
love
of
it.
course. We'd love to have him. But I noticed when on that last publication that you guys did on where you were reading the hate comments
Mm-hmm.
or things like that, it's like the same people. It's the common offenders.
All right.
So they're fake names.
Oh, okay. I was like,
We don't
wait
put
a
their
minute.
real names out
Okay.
there, because then they would just make it worse.
Oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute. But
But-
would you notice that? Would you say that is the same people? Because when I'm reading stuff too, if I'm on Facebook and I'm reading an article, and it's always like the same guy that just pops up that I've never met the guy, but I'm familiar with their name now because it's like they always have something to say and it's very strong and just
Oh
super
yeah,
opinionated.
it's
What do they
especially
call
on
them? Keyboard warriors or whatever.
yeah, hiding behind their keyboards.
Yep.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially on our website, because the comment section on our website, you have to, like, log in and make an account. And so they have a username, and people on there never use their real names. And they always use something, like, weird. And so we recognize those usernames, and they are, like, the only people that comment on our website. Whereas on Facebook, most of the time you're making a comment and your real name is behind it.
Yeah.
So people, I think, are a lot more guarded on Facebook. You're going to think I'm wrong, but I'm not. People are way meaner on our website than they are on Facebook because their name's not attached to it. And they think, oh, well, they can't find out who I am. We can. You just click on the account and it tells us your name.
We know who you are.
We know who you are.
Nice try.
Yeah, you can't hide that easily.
With that said, in real life, as far as, so you deal with the keyboard warriors and the people that are angry. Have you ever had anybody try to intimidate you over a story or like try to,
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure that the story didn't come out or things like that?
Not so much make sure story didn't come out. We've definitely had people reach out and ask, like, hey, in crime stories, people will be like, hey, I saw you publish this, like, please take it down. And we do have a right to be forgotten clause, which is really cool. If we publish a crime story and that person goes through the court process and they get sentenced and they finish their sentence and they finish their probation, they finish their time, we'll take your story down, like, the day that you finish, as long as you can prove to us that you finished it. If we can go on iCourt and it'll say, like, they did all their stuff, we'll take it down. And I think after that, it takes like 30 days to be taken down from Google. And the hard part with that is that it's usually not just us posting stories about crime. And so then you have to go to every single news source that posted about you. But with us, it's pretty easy. And so we do get a lot of people asking us to take stories down and stuff. We definitely do get a lot of people, like, trying to influence what we do post, but it is I would say really hard to do that because our editors are very much like we just have great mentors and they're so good at weeding out what's fact and what's not. And so, for instance, like we've been covering a lot of protests lately.
Yeah.
And when we show up and there's counter protesters, a lot of the time they'll try and intimidate the media a little bit. There's a person who shows up to a lot of the protests in town with an AR to a lot of the protests. And that person does come up to every journalist and tries to kind of either like make friends and like try and kind of convince them like, you know, be nice to me, make sure you're only saying nice things about me. But people do that on both sides and they do it everywhere. And it's very interesting. I went to grad school, and for my grad school, my graduate paper, I did a study on like violence and harassment against journalists based on their gender. And it's actually funny because I was looking for examples of like harassment that I've gotten. And the day before I presented my graduate project, I looked at my reporter page and I looked at my messenger. And at this time, like my reporter page didn't have very much engagement, but every once in a while I get like a message or something. And somebody messaged me, "I hope you get breast cancer." And I was like,
Good Lord.
what? And it was just like some young kid. Like, I still don't know who he was. I don't know what he was mad about. I hadn't written anything about breast cancer. I don't know. And so I was like, that's perfect, actually. So I screenshotted it, and it was the very first slide when people walked in when I was presenting.
Well, way to turn that around. I love that that worked out for your paper.
It worked out pretty well because people walked in and they were like, whoa, like that's a lot. And it is. But I mean, especially things like I think the longer you're a journalist, the more harassment you're going to get. But you also get better at dealing with it. And at this point, I'm pretty comfortable just letting it roll off my back. I think at first it was really, really difficult, but it's a lot easier when you have a good support system behind you. And we have an awesome support system at East Idaho News, I think.
That's awesome. You keep saying that over and over, how good the people you are, or the people that you work with are.
I know, and I probably sound like I have a gun to my head, but I'm being really serious.
No, but I think
that's good.
it's funny because I was literally going to reiterate on that. And it goes back to having a good team behind you. And that's not just in
really
journalism.
matters.
It goes to any business, to entrepreneurship, which we mainly talk here about. But whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, the group of friends, or the people that you work with, the people that they got your back,
Right.
it makes all the
Support
difference
you.
in the world. And that's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that are going to,
It really does.
you know.
Yeah,
so,
and the people, especially the people that have been at East Idaho News the longest, so Nate Sunderland, we have an awesome web manager, Robert Patton, and we just have so many people who they're so experienced in what they do, but they're only like 40, and so you're kind of like, how are you so good at this? But like they were genuinely like born to do this.
Yeah.
And I like, you just really learn to trust them. And journalism's a really hard field to get into at the very beginning because you kind of feel like you're being thrown into the fire. But if you can find a mentor that is willing to teach you and take the time to help you be comfortable with what you're doing, it changes the whole game. Like my managing editor is so good at that, and he will tell you that he's grumpy and mean, but he's not. He might come off that way to like people outside the newsroom, but he's the best. And I think all of us, hopefully I can speak for all of us, when, you know, we feel so supported. And if I get a hate comment or if I get, you know, a correction or something, I'm never like, oh my gosh, like my editors are going to kill me. I'm always like, oh man, like, all right, I got to go figure out how to like fix this. But I'm never worried that they're going to be like, that they won't have my back on it, which is super important, I think, in journalism specifically.
yeah, I mean, on any job, really.
Any
But
job,
to have
yeah.
whoever you're working
system.
with and who you rely on, that they're going to be supporting you.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that when you started to have a mentor, but and maybe this is all because I don't know anything about journalism, but then you see the stories on TV. So it's like, we talked about competitiveness. at the beginning, it's got to be hard because to get notoriety, to get a story good enough, or I shouldn't say good enough, but that makes you stand
traction
out,
on it.
right? To get
Yeah.
traction. How challenging was that?
I think it comes with the territory. I think at the time I started was right at the tail end of the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, which kind of skyrocketed East Idaho news. Like that case really kind of put us on the map a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have that, and we have Secret Santa, and those two things kind of really helped us to get a bigger viewership and to get engagement. And I started in May 2022. So it was like right when Lori Vallow was going through her hearings and stuff before her trial. And same with Chad Daybell. And to watch Nate Eaton do that, which was probably the biggest case of his life so far, was so incredibly helpful for me because he would take me with him to hearings as a baby journalist, like tagging along. Yeah, like, and he would explain everything to me, and I got to see him in the field talking to people. I mean, at one point, I think I was like a month in, I was outside the Fremont County Courthouse after Lori had a hearing, and I guess I'm just assuming everybody knows what this is, but essentially she like murdered her children. And
Well, you know, the
you can Google it.
100 people that are going to listen to this are from around here, so they will know for sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no.
Definitely Google it. There's a great Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
But at one point I was literally outside the courthouse, and we're standing outside the courthouse, and Nate goes, okay, so she's going to come out this door, and the door's like right next to me, and I'm like, she's going to what? And he was like, yeah, so she's going to come out this door. You're just going to ask her any question you can think of. You're going to hold your phone up. You're going to film it. And I'm going to be asking her questions too. Tony Blakesley, who does photos with us sometimes, he's going to be taking photos. So just go with it. And I was like, just go with it. What do you mean? And he was right. And for some reason that day, you know, usually they try and like fake you out a little bit when they're taking an inmate out of the jail. They like will take a different door, or they'll like park a fake car by the door, so you think that's the one they're going to take. But they're actually going on the back door. And so for some reason, we just lucked out that day, I guess. And they just walked her out. And there, a lot of the times there's like a caution tape that we can't go past. Nothing there that day.
You were all
And we were like next to the car. Like we could have probably sat in the car if we'd tried hard enough. And she walks out, and I had my phone up, and I was so nervous. I was like shaking. And thankfully, Nate was also recording because I was so nervous. I hit record, and then I thought I didn't, and I hit record again. And it was right in her face, and it didn't record.
Oh, shoot.
And I asked her, I think I asked her, do you miss your kids? Because at that point we knew that they had been killed. And so I asked her, do you miss your kids? And she just kind of like giggled and laughed and walked away. And that was the day Tony got that awesome picture. There's a picture of her sitting in the police car with like her bulletproof vest and everything. And she's like smiling out of the car.
What a crazy lady.
But yeah, it's a lot of being thrown into the fire, but there's a good safety net with the Nates, as we call them. There's
Nates.
two Nates.
I like it.
Well, all I can remember is Nate being like, Lori, where's your children?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like, that's iconic.
I told him I was going to make that my ringtone.
You should.
Oh my gosh.
It's he's incredible. And so it was really nice being there during that, because it was very much like you expect to go into news in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and just be like, there's a food drive at Walmart today, but no, you're like really in it and doing some pretty crazy stuff. And so I think journalism can be like that everywhere, no matter where you live.
Has crime increased as we've kind of been growing, I guess? Because we're seeing an influx of people moving here. And
you see it firsthand. I mean, you're always reporting on it. So do you see that there's more to report on now that the town has grown? Do you experience that, or would you be fair to say that, or not?
No, I've definitely talked to like Chief Johnson at the police department, and I've talked to, different experts in law enforcement, and it definitely has increased, especially since COVID. Because everybody wanted to work remote because they could, and everybody wanted to work remote somewhere that's really pretty and quiet and nice, and so a lot of people moved here. And with that comes an increase in crime just because there's more people. And so for a while, we were seeing, I feel like it kind of ebbs and flows. For a while in 2024, I think we had like 5 or 6 murder trials just in Idaho Falls.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
And that was wild. Like that was something even my editors were like, good luck.
What's going on here?
I don't know what's going on. And so, we would talk to Randy Neal, the Bonneville County prosecutor, and we would talk to the police chief, and we would talk to all these different people. And the police department here is really awesome to work with because they'll have us in for media meetings whenever something really big goes down. And they will sit there and they will show us all the body cam footage, and they will literally write us a story, everything that happened, and we'll get to match that to the video so we can be like, yeah, that is what happened. We saw it. This is what they're saying. Or if it isn't what happened, we can be like, that's not what we're seeing. Thankfully, we haven't had to do that as of now. But they one time showed us a heat map because there was a lot of really crazy crimes going down around like 4th Street a couple years ago.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that was that same year we had like 5 murder trials. I don't think all of them went to trial, but they just kind of said, we're having a neighborhood meeting for like 4th Street and the streets around, and you guys should come because we're going to talk about it. And so I went, and so many of the neighbors went, and the police chief himself stood up in front of everybody and was like, we have a lot of crime here. This is what we're doing to kind of try and mitigate it. This is what's happening with, because there was unfortunately like a really horrible murder on 4th Street a few years ago. This is what's going on with that. And he showed us a heat map of where the different crimes are in town. And it was really interesting to see like where different things go down. So
Can you share that? Are you able to share that with us?
I don't know if it's still accurate because it was a couple years ago, but there's a lot of like for instance, like drug activity downtown, a lot of stuff like that. Drug activity on like the lower numbered streets, so like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, kind of more stuff like that. But it's so nice being able to have something like that where you can tell people like, yeah, crime is worse in this area for this certain thing. But also, like, crime is random sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could be in the craziest, nicest neighborhood in the hills over by the wind tower.
The windmills.
Windmills.
Sorry. Yeah.
Wind towers.
Very affluent neighborhoods. Yeah, where there's a lot of
and
money.
you can have the craziest thing happen over there, and that's something that makes our days different every single day because we never know what's going to happen. I wish we did, but it's. Idaho Falls is definitely evolving, and I think that that's something we talk about every single day in the newsroom, whether it's crime, whether it's like new businesses opening, whether it's schools being overflowed or enrollment or something like that. It's something that we are writing about every single day because it affects every aspect of everybody's life here.
Yeah.
So with all this, you cover crime mainly. We talked about the fact that you got to have a thick skin. But do you ever just kind of feel numb or like, it's got to be hard to go home and kind of just put aside. So do you ever struggle with that part where you're like, you have a day and you feel so heavy because of something that
absolutely.
you have to report on?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always the ones you don't expect too. Like, it's never like, obviously if I go write about like a murder or something, like it's hard and it's horrible, and I like obviously everybody wishes we didn't have to, but it's always the ones that like people assume if I go cover a court trial and I see all these horrible awful things that those are the ones I go home and like cry about. But those are the ones I go home and I'm just like, I'm just gonna like let that go and come back to it tomorrow. But it's the ones that it's more of the personal stories that get me, like the future stories. So obviously Owen Sanchez, that was a really horrible, awful one. That one really got me. You guys, knew the family and stuff too. And there's a little girl I'm writing about right now who has some kind of disease where one side of her body is shrinking, and it's really, really painful for her. And I think is 6 or 7 years old. I think she might be a little bit older actually. And that one's really difficult because like you get to know the families so well, talking with them so often, and watching people go through that is really horrible. But on the other side, it's kind of really cool to watch how publishing a story about somebody can actually really help them, especially if there's like a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Because like GoFundMe stories are almost my favorite stories, I want to say,
I love 'em
because
too.
they're so amazing, and we live in such an awesome community of so many generous people that every time we write a GoFundMe story, if I were to check and they were to be at $0 donated, and then we write a story about them, no matter what it is, and the next morning they will have thousands more dollars in their GoFundMe, and it's incredible to see that. But yeah, the more personal ones I think are harder, where you just go home and you just like stare at the wall and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to go back tomorrow and do this again. But thankfully, like I said, if it ever becomes too much, our editors are very perceptive to that, and we have like like benefits to where we have like free therapy sessions,
Oh,
which is
that's
really
super
cool.
important. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Especially in your line of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a conference, a crime conference, crime reporting conference in Philadelphia a few years ago, and a lot of that conference was about secondhand trauma for journalists. Going to a scene, seeing something happen, and knowing that even though you weren't a part of it, you still have to tell everybody about that, and that's still really traumatic for that person. So, for instance, like the Rigby Middle School shooting in 2022, 2021. I wasn't at East Idaho News yet, but I know that for a lot of my coworkers, that was a super traumatic day, because that's something you never want to report on. That's something you never want to hear about. But as a journalist, like you kind of have to run into the fire rather than away from it.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. And just seeing stuff, seeing horrible photos in court and hearing about horrible things that go on can be really, really tough. But for the most part, I think it's also kind of enlightening a little bit to realize that like you get to be a part of telling the world about these things that happen, because like I like to think that good comes out of horrible things. And so for instance, like a court trial I covered, you'll cover a court trial about something horrible, like, drug dealing that ended in a murder or something, but then out of that will come like a scholarship fund in somebody's name, or like somebody will hear about that and decide not to do something they were going to do. And so you might not ever hear about it, but it's good to know and to think that good things will come out of what you're doing, even if it doesn't feel like it all the time.
Right. Kind of a full circle moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to see the silver lining on those things that,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
are happening.
For sure.
Have you ever had a story that you were hesitant to go live with, or to like really had to think about it whether you wanted to go with or not?
All the time. No, not all the time. Yeah. We've written a couple, specifically stories where we are worried about the person we're writing about. So I've had instances where we've written stories and I, along with my editors, have been concerned about our safety afterwards.
Oh, wow.
So my editors have had, we've all had death threats. I've had multiple rape threats. Like you worry about yourself, you worry about everybody.
Ooh, that's
It's
heavy.
really sorry.
That's scary. No, but I mean, we're learning about, what really takes to do what you do. And
Yeah.
it never even crossed my mind. So
Yeah.
it just to think about it, the things you have to do and
My
put yourself
editors, I don't remember what the story was, but there was something where my editors were getting death threats. I think it was before I started. And the sheriff's office and the police department did hourly checks on their houses. So they would circle the neighborhoods around their houses for like a couple weeks.
Jeez.
And then last year, the police department did that at my house because of a story I wrote. And because I was concerned and my editors were concerned and once I talked to the police department, they were also a little bit concerned. And so they would circle our houses and our neighborhoods and stuff just to make sure everything was okay. And that stuff can be kind of scary, for sure. That stuff can be really, really scary, but it kind of comes with the territory. At some point, you kind of realize, like, oh, what I'm doing is very impactful, whether I like it or not. And a story, like, it's funny because, like, you'll write those stories and you'll be so nervous and it will, like, barely even get any engagement. And you're like, I cried about this for weeks.
Right.
And I'm so proud of it. And then nothing really comes from it. And you're like, all right, well, I did my job and it's out there. So it can get really weird. It can get really scary. But I think it's just, it comes with the job. And it's something I didn't expect, really, because I live in Idaho Falls. But it happens everywhere. That's something that surprised me the most, is I thought things like that only happened in, like, big cities. But no, it happens everywhere.
So you definitely are surprised at the type of the stories that you actually get to report on versus what you thought that you would be reporting on.
Yeah, I
originally.
mean, growing up, I always read the news. Like, I mean, I read East Idaho News before I worked there, and I would watch the news at night, and I was always like, "Huh, wow, like that's crazy." But I don't remember ever hearing about as much crime as I read about now.
Yeah.
And so that surprised me when I first started, because I think for a lot of people that goes under the radar until, because we report on the most crime in the area. And so I think my editors and I think we've done a good job at kind of increasing people's awareness of that kind of stuff. Because it does happen here and it happens everywhere. It happens in Shelley, it happens in Blackfoot, it happens in Ryrie, teeny tiny little towns like Manan, things happen all the time. And I think a lot of people get away with a lot of stuff in these little tiny towns. And I think it's important that we are able to tell people that things are happening in these places where people think nothing's happening.
I definitely felt that effect when I moved here because I came from Florida and I lived in a fairly big city metropolitan area. And although you hear the news, it's just the news. So it's a big city. So it's just kind of like, sounds terrible, but noise in the background, right? It's just, it's going to happen. But then you come here and then you guys are zooming in into all the stories and you're like, wait, what? Here? Yeah. Like what? There's no way. And so,
well, especially I think, Idaho Falls and Eastern Idaho has a big LDS population that's really prominent. And so I think a lot of people move here because they think, Idaho Falls has this really prominent, like religious community, that has certain values that, some people might be looking for, but it doesn't matter. Yet at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want wherever they want. And it sounds horrible, but like, I don't think there's anywhere you could go where local news wouldn't be important to let people know that like more is happening in their community than you probably think. And I'm sure we miss stuff all the time that's going on. And I know that we have had
people that don't get caught.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And I mean, there's crime going on all the time that we don't even have the time or resources to cover.
Yeah.
We cover the most important stuff the most we can. But we gotta sleep. So
gotta stop at some point, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's super surprising, I think, to a lot of people.
Wow. This is such a great insight. I mean, learning so much.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for taking the time to share with us. I think I had a couple more questions for you. Sorry, I had to go through my notes because otherwise some easy ones. If you had a person like your dream interview that you would get to interview, who would that be?
Oh my gosh. Well, everybody at work is going to expect me to say Taylor Swift. Which
you're going to get a lot of hate for that.
I know, which feels like the obvious answer for me. But I would, oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I want to interview the guy that did Watergate Deep Throat.
Wow.
I think that would be so cool. I every couple of years become obsessed with Watergate again, and I read and I read and I read and I watch videos and watch videos, and I would love to do that. I'm also like a super huge true crime junkie, so I would love to like interview like alive or dead. Like I'd love to interview people like JonBenet Ramsey, like just to find out what happened. And like people like that, I think, are like super Gabby Petito, something like that, because that's something we covered in our
Or
area.
Dior.
Or Dior Coons.
Yeah.
Yeah. People like that. I mean, I would just love, I just like, I'm somebody who really can't let things go if I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Especially stuff like that. And so I would love to just know what happened in some of these cases. I know Nate Eaton is the exact same way. Especially with stuff like he's covering a trial right now in Utah about a woman who is on trial for allegedly poisoning her husband with fentanyl and then writing a book about grief.
Wow.
And so I'm sure he would love to
What's
talk
in
to
this?
that guy.
I'm just kidding.
What's in this cup?
Just keep drinking.
Just keep going. No worries. Yeah, I mean, Gloria Steinem is a journalist that I would love to interview. She, I believe, went undercover as a Playboy bunny to see what that was actually like.
Oh, that'd be fun to hear all the
Yeah, it was
stories,
like secretly undercover. To do that, I'd love to interview her. Yeah, oh my God, the list is so big.
So you got a good
long.
list. I mean, that's
It's so long. I mean, Taylor Swift, obviously.
Number one.
we'll stick
for
with
sure.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
What was the most intense crime story that you came across?
The most intense one, I guess. That's a good question. A couple of years ago, there was so we were in the newsroom one day and we heard that there was a man in Swan Valley, just like 45-ish minutes from here, who had like run into a convenience store completely naked and was just like running around.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
we were like, oh, that's wild. Like, that's crazy. And then somebody sent us the video. And we were like, oh my gosh, like there's a video of it. So we were all like, wow, what a crazy story. And then we were like, oh, he's probably on drugs, like, so we called Bonneville County because they cover that area. And we did a little story on it and stuff. And then we just kind of let it go. And then we came back the next morning and we heard that somebody in Victor, which is close to Swan Valley, they thought had killed their wife, and their wife was pregnant, and then stolen their baby, who was like just a couple months old. And we were like, oh wow, like that's crazy. Let's start covering it. So we started covering it and everybody was looking for him. And then we found out it was the same guy from the day before who was naked in the convenience store. And it ended up being Jeremy Best. And we covered that trial that case from day one until the very last day he was sentenced and got life sentences. But that one was really, really impactful for
Super dark.
a lot of people. Yeah, because Victor and Swan Valley, like the Teton Valley area, is very close knit.
Yeah.
And there is not a lot of people there that would expect something like that to happen there. I remember when we found out that, they had found Callie Randall, the wife's body, and my editor sent me up there to the house. And by the time I got up there, obviously I couldn't get into the house or anything like that because it was cut off. But just being there and like seeing the house and the shop and like where, like knowing that like somebody like that had happened there was really intense. And then I went back to Victor because I heard that Jeremy was a mechanic. So I went to a bunch of like mechanic stores and was just kind of like asking people like, do you know him? Did you know him? And got some information from them, and really dove deep into this story. But a few days later, there was a vigil for Callie, and they ended up finding the baby Zeke deceased as well. So there was a vigil for Callie and her unborn baby Freya and Zeke. And so my videographer Jordan Wood and our videographer, went to Driggs, I believe is where it was, and it was in December, and it was back when we got snow. And so there was so much snow on the road driving from Idaho Falls to Driggs that we almost slid off like 5 times. And that was stressing us out, really scary. And then we got there and we had to wear like knee-high snow boots and like snow pants just to go outside to go to this vigil because there was so much snow and it was so cold. And I had been talking with Callie's family, and they didn't live in Idaho. They lived on the other side of the country. And I'd been talking with them on Messenger because they wanted to give us statements and they wanted to talk about Callie and they wanted to talk about it. And I got there and Callie had all these dogs, like she had these really big dogs. And I got there and I saw her cousin that I had been talking to, and she had one of Callie's dogs with her. And I told Jordan, I was like, I got to go talk to her. Like, I got to go say hi to her. And so I went up to her and I said hi. And then I just started sobbing, which is like not cool for a journalist, which is like not what you're supposed to do. And that's one of the only times that's happened. I say one of, it's happened like 2 or 3 times. But I just started crying because I looked at her and she was crying. And I just started sobbing because I'm a huge dog person. And I also just was like, this was such an intense story. And for some reason, the dog, like just seeing the dog just clicked. And I just couldn't like hold myself together anymore. And so I just like hugged her cousin, and her cousin and I hugged and cried at this vigil. And then we stopped and I was like, I am so sorry. And she was like, don't worry about it. And she was like, I'll come find you later when I'm a little bit more put together. And I was like, sounds good. And then I went back over to Jordan and he was like, are you okay? I was like, sure. And then I kind of like cleaned myself up and figured everything out. And then it was back to work. And the visual was beautiful. And we covered the whole thing. I think we covered it live, actually. I think we were live streaming it. And then covering the trial. Obviously, well, there was no trial, sorry. Covering his sentencing. His sentencing was like 3 days because they went through all of the evidence.
Much. Yeah.
And that was really difficult to learn exactly how everything happened. And the fact that there really didn't seem to be a solid reason why. And I think that was really hard for people.
Did he get insanity?
So there's no insanity plea in Idaho,
Okay.
which makes things really hard sometimes. But he did have a problem with drugs. It's believed that he had relapsed on drugs during that time. He also has bipolar disorder, really severe. And they think that was part of it too. But there was also, text messages that they were considering divorce. And just like, it's just like the ultimate horror story of like domestic violence. And so that one specifically was really intense for all of us because it's like, I say like, crime happens everywhere, but like even me, like you don't expect it really in like Swan Valley, like that kind of area. Cause people just go there to like fish and ski and have fun. And and you don't really think about the fact that like, oh, there's actual like people there that like things can happen. And so that one was really hard. And then after the sentencing, I got to meet Callie's entire family and like go back in the room with them and talk with them and interview them and take their picture and stuff. And that was tough too. But other than that, I covered the Daybell sentencing, and that was a whole other thing that I'll just let people read about.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're sharing this with us because most of us, like I said in the introduction, we don't think of the person behind reporting the news, right? And the effect that has on them. I mean, you're seeing these things all the time, and you probably may become a little desensitized. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But at the same time, it shows that it hits a point where you had a breakdown, and it was just sincere, and you have to deal with all those emotions. And sometimes people, like I said, get super mean online, and you're just doing your job.
Right.
And everybody has different jobs or different careers, and yours just happened to be the one where you're telling people what's happening as much as sometimes we don't want to hear about it, that it's happening. So we appreciate so much for you to take the time and sit down and talk to us.
You
And
guys.
we would love to do it again.
Oh, absolutely.
Where can people follow you, find you? Obviously, we know you're in East Idaho News, but where else can people find you and follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Kaitlyn Hart Reporter. That's my reporter page. That's where I post all of my stories and some bigger stories that we have going on. And then people can find me on Twitter at News with Kate, Kait. I also post all of my stuff on there. East Idaho News, obviously. We have a YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, and I think that's it. Obviously, our website. And yeah, if anybody has any news tips, reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here again. Can you leave us with one thing for anybody that is thinking about becoming a reporter or a journalist?
Ooh. It's worth it. I think it might not seem like it some days, but it totally is. It's totally worth it. I think the relationships you make in your community and being so aware of everything is so impactful. Like I have gotten to meet so many awesome people through my job, and that is the best part of it for sure. Is reaching out and meeting people and opportunities. Like I've been in a medical helicopter, like just to ride around with them. I've been on a speedboat for work. I have gone through a pile of World War II trash that has never been moved since World War II. They just let me like sift through it and look at stuff out at INL for a story. I have done so many cool things that I would never have thought I would ever be able to do. My whole family's gotten to fly in a helicopter because of my job. Like it's so crazy. And it's my job is so weird, but it is so worth it.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks again. We really seriously appreciate you taking time. I know you're super busy.
Thank you
it
guys
means
so
a lot
much.
that you can come and hang out with us for a little podcast and share your experience and your life and
Anytime.
your career. So we look forward to hopefully having you again.
I hope so. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
Thanks, guys. That's a wrap.